The last 2 weeks I've been working on this new tiger drawing in color. I love to draw tigers in color and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And yeah, some of it is quite challenging, like the hairs on the nose, for example. But a lot of the fur goes in the same direction, as you can see, and then I don't find that difficult at all, actually. But now I've come to a point, and it's right there. I'll show it to you in on the image that I'm using as a reference. It's like right there, and you can see that the hairs are going in, well, practically every direction, and I always find that a little bit more challenging. So I'll show you how I do that. It's a really small part actually, and for small parts you also have to have patience. You can't just like think, oh, it's a small part, let's just do it really quickly, because then you will just ruin it. So I'll show you how I do this. I always take a sheet to rest my hand on. You should even do that when you didn't draw at the place where you're resting your hand yet, because your hand can make the paper greasy. So it's always better to have a blank sheet under your hand. Like I've said in previous videos, I always start with the lightest color, even though over here it's really dark and it's supposed to be a gradient from darker to light. I always set it up with the lightest color. As you can see, I've already done a bit there, and what I do is I just make the strokes in a lot of different directions. So I'll just show you how I do this. I just make all the strokes in like different directions. Don't press too hard. Never press too hard in the beginning. I always like to work in layers. So now we just move on to a darker color. So here we go again. You do this the same with this pencil, with the same color. A different color, I mean, of course, but in different directions. Same technique. It doesn't have to look very neat. You want to make it look like fur, so you want to do it a bit rough. Especially when it does go in all kinds of different directions. You don't want to like do this. There's no need to do that. It's also good to make some strokes darker, to press a bit harder than other strokes. Over here I'm pressing a bit harder because I know that it has to be a bit darker there. Over here I'm not touching much because I have to add details, because the hairs of his chin, they go over it, so you want to keep that white. But I'm not focusing on that at the moment. Just gonna continue. Here you also see like whiskers and white hairs crossing, so you want to keep that white. They actually have to be thinner because now they just look like spaghetti. So I'm gonna work on making those thinner later. I'm actually not really looking at the image now. I know what it's supposed to look like, so I just do it a bit from memory. That's how I often work. Over here it does have to be a bit in the same direction, so slowly I'm just gonna work that way. Not immediately, because you have to do that gradually, otherwise it's gonna look really weird. So like that. Now I'm gonna take again a darker color, a bit darker brown, and just keep doing the same again. The lightest color you do practically everywhere, and the darker you go, the less strokes you make. You make it more divided, because if you look at the image, you see that the darkest colors are just not everywhere. It just makes up for the shadows. It makes the shadows, and so you don't want those darkest colors to be everywhere. Always a bit struggling with holding my camera and drawing at the same time, but so over here, like I said, can make it quite darker. As of now, it doesn't look all that fantastic, but the more you work in layers and you put more layers over it, the more, the better it will look. So I'll go a little bit here. Here it's all a bit lighter, so I don't do many dark strokes there. Actually just a little bit, but not much. And I take a black, and especially here I'm gonna just add quite some black. This here has to be quite dark. Never too much. Just be careful with black, because yeah, you don't want to use an eraser. You don't want to find out, oh, that's way too dark, and you can't change it anymore. It's always, you can always add more. You can take pencil away with an eraser, then it's just going to be one big mess. So with black, also very careful. Over there I don't do any black actually, only a little bit here. So for now I've used enough black, I feel. I'm just gonna go back to the lightest color again and just fill it up, and I'm just gonna do that quite rough like this. If you work light, you can always change things. If you work too dark, then you just can't change anything anymore. So, especially when you're just starting out, it's just better to start light and work in layers. The more advanced you get, the quicker you can start setting things up, and you're pressing harder with your pencil. I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you found it useful. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I hope to see you with my next videos again. Bye!